Market's been looking good all day, and Solana, the big dog, has just broken a major indicator here for us that could tell us that there is something brewing in the market. Now, we've just seen some bearish news come out with regards to Trump and Jerome Powell. Is that going to have an effect, or is this simply going to give us some entry? So, guys, I've got the full plan for you guys here. We got tons of alts. Let's go. And remember, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, and hit the subscribe. And like, I've got the bullish hat on, but I think Trump just came and he started a bit of a lickies here. No? So we're going to take a look through here. James is definitely bearish today. I mean, if you heard the 5 minutes before we went live.
In the past 5 minutes only was super bullish until Trump came up with this horse shit and the market's dumping like crazy.
Guys, we're going to talk about that news as well, and this could be the perfect opportunity for a couple of entries here if the market decides to just shake off this news and continue the pumpage. So what I've got for you today is so many altcoins. They're sitting at major resistance zones, major breakout levels potentially. They are now going to reject, and we're going to look for some entries on some of these. If the market stays bullish, we've got some bullish entries for you guys. Okay, and banter bubbles nice and green. I suspect it's going to start turning a little bit darker in the next couple of minutes. So just in terms of what I'm doing, I'm obviously I'm ridiculously long at the moment. This Trump news isn't very helpful, but got a couple of head shorts running still, and that Cardano, I've been chasing a breakout on Cardano, but I still don't have a confluence. I don't have a reason to close my head short just yet. So we're just going to let that one ride, and we're going to see how this thing plays out. So right now, banter bubbles nice and green. It's been a wonderful day in the markets, and you can see this current Bitcoin candle, James. It looks like they're just shaking it off at the moment. So we've got a bit of a, what do we call this thing? A Darth Maul candle. And they might just actually pump this one right back up. So maybe that was the little dip. Okay, so BTC right now on the 1 hour that I'm tracking, you can see key support for us at the moment is 117,900. That's a beautiful zone there for me. I've got a VWAP from the lows. I've got a 382, and that's a typical support level that we're going to use on these lower time frame moves. Let's actually just pull that up now after we've had that pump. Oh, look at that, even better. Look at that on that 382. So that is an absolute banger then for that little dip there on BTC. Upside levels 119,520 and 120,400 are the big ones now to the upside. But obviously all the focus at the moment, barring some more BTC drama, is on these altcoins and what exactly happens next. I see Mia says gold went rogue. Well, it was responding to that news that we've just seen in the market with regards to Trump and Powell. Okay, so right now, upside levels you've got for BTC, current support 118, lower down I've got 117. We'll track that one. If the market absolutely shits the bed later, we're watching the VWAP and the lows at 116. Okay, so mark these levels on your charts, and remember, Chart Hackers members, you get these charts anyway. They come to you directly after the show. You all have access to these things. Okay, let's get into some lickies at the moment. Let's see the current state of the market, and I suspect this is actually going to go up a little bit because we've got some late longers sitting at major resistance. So we're 300 million at the moment in lickies, something that we're going to keep track on if there is a little bit more chop. So guys, remember, crypto guys actually just want one thing, and let's just take a look and just confirm exactly what this is. And it's feeling, I think it's feeling like this today. And normally when we start looking at cars, when you start looking through your auto trader, or you start looking through new cars, when you start printing on your P&Ls, it's normally a sign that the top is in, guys. Just be aware, okay? It's normally the sign. And right now this Trump news is perfect for any new traders here. This is exactly what it's like at the moment. And you guys thought trading in a bull market was easy. Well, I must tell you, it's very, very challenging, because you get all these mixed signals after you get these big pumps in the market, and then everybody starts second guessing what's the next move. Is it up? Is it down? Do we long? Do we short? And it gets properly chaotic, guys. So enjoy the ride. All I can say to you guys before we jump into these charts, the best thing you can do for yourself is lower the leverage and take smaller positions and give your stops a lot more breathing room. When we get into these types of phases, the market makers love to play games, and it's easy pickings for them to come and take you out. If you're starting your trades 20x leverage. You're starting your trades, 30x leverage. You are asking for trouble. You are asking to get chopped. And then you sit on the sidelines while everything starts ripping. So I can really strongly suggest, guys, smaller positions, lower that leverage. Okay, so here's the news. So the first bit is Director of Federal Housing says a very credible source told him Jerome Powell is considering resigning. Okay, that's very nice. And I would assume the market takes that as relatively bullish because he's stepping down, he's trying to be a gentleman and things like that. And then we got this next tweet here saying that President Trump is likely going to fire Fed Chair Powell soon. Now, the market obviously not happy with that at the moment because we know the situation. If the President of America can fire Jerome Powell, well, it becomes, as James likes to call it, a banana republic. So then things can obviously get a little bit uncomfortable there. But the bull case of something like this is we have heard rumors of this previously. A couple of months back, Trump was chasing this narrative. And I think the market has digested that sort of situation. And for me, you know, a Fed Chair Powell out of the way, it could be a bullish sign because whoever comes in is going to be a puppet. And that person is going to drop the rates and do whatever Uncle Donald wants. So look, definitely a talking point here. But if there is a bearish sign, well, you can follow the great 𝗏𝗏𝗏 because he's one of my favorite bears. And he's telling us, warning, S&P 500 2008 versus 2025, scary, similar, vigilance is required. God bless and Godspeed. Okay. Now, does this mean that my S&P short is finally going to play out? Or is this a little bear trap here before they come and they end me? So I've added a little bit to the S&P short. Travis says banana republic are made by the central banks. Okay, just Google it. The president has no power to fire Fed chair. It's not possible. Yes, correct, Chris, 100%. Okay, and that is the current S&P. So we've had our first little sign of weakness here. This little dump, if it extends a bit more, the next pump's probably going to be bearish, and then we start doing that, okay, on the S&P. So is the short finally going to play out for us? We're going to have to wait and see how this goes. Look at this. I mean, classic bear trap here. Look at this. They just dropped this wick. They're pumping it back up. But nonetheless, I'm sitting in my S&P short. I've added a little bit more to it now. And then I've got a Tesla long. I'm scalping it off the 200-day moving average. I'll show you that chart in a second. And then NVIDIA also just quite inviting at the top again. And I thought with this bearish news, maybe I should try a sneaky little NVIDIA short here. Maybe we get a little dip here in the market. So let's see how that plays out. So that is my current play on BTCC. And one more thing that you guys can watch when the market starts getting a little bit funky, you can pull out the gold chart. And you saw me talking about gold there in the chats. And what you can do is you can treat gold almost like Bitcoin dominance. And when gold pumps into resistance areas, that's often a rejection zone. And when gold is rejecting, the other markets tend to do okay. And when gold is pumping, obviously the other markets tend to feel a little bit of pressure. So right now gold has pumped obviously on the news, but it is actually in fact at a major resistance zone. So there's a probability that we can get a gold rejection and then onwards and upwards in the other markets while everything carries on. So you just want to keep your one eye on this gold chart, similarly to how you watch dominance on some of these alt charts. It's always a good guide here as to what the macro side or what the market is actually thinking at the moment. Now, NVIDIA hits the most overbought level since June 24, the last time NVIDIA plunged 35% when this happened. But guys, this time is different. Isn't that right, James? This time is different. It's up only for NVIDIA or what? Are we sending this thing to you, James?
Well, yeah. I mean, with what just happened with the chips being able to sell to China again, why would it fall over?
Yeah.
That was massive news for them.
I think the real play on NVIDIA, and never mind me fucking around with a little bit of a short here. I think the real play on NVIDIA is when we get a proper dip in the market. There's going to be a period where we get 2 or 3 red days in the market, and that is going to be the real opportunity on NVIDIA. Okay, so maybe just a couple of
Jim
short.
Cramer says. He said, yes, buy it, don't trade it.
We're going to buy it when it dips, though. Okay, we want to buy that pullback. So, I mean, we can have a bit of a laugh and we can have a bit of fun, but ultimately trying to stand in front of a freight train isn't normally the wisest thing to be doing. Okay, so small positions, if you are testing these things, here is my big entry zone for NVIDIA. If we do eventually get that bleed out, 152, 139, I think that's the real money maker there for us on NVIDIA if we do get that dip, because then we're going to grind that thing higher. Carlos, please, can we send ETH to 4,000. I'll be very satisfied if we manage to get that right in the next couple of days. Now, Cathie Wood has bought 115,000 Tesla shares. Okay, so interesting. And these guys and girls obviously like the 200-day moving average. We've spoken about this multiple times, and don't tell me how to live my life to learn 100x. No, bro, knock yourself out. Just come and have fun with us, but don't cry. Don't cry in the casino if you're getting lickies, okay? So the 200-day MA, always a fun one that these guys like to play with. So they've obviously used this as a marker. Maybe they looked at this reversal, and maybe they're saying, look, there's a golden cross here. The 50-day MA has turned above. Who knows what their analysts are telling them? But I thought, look, let's have a go. And they obviously have a much longer time frame view. They're not exactly going to sell on a stop loss, so they'll just accumulate more on weaklets. But I thought, look, if she's having a crack here, 200-day MA, here's a nice exit play. If you close under 310, somewhere around there, then yeah, maybe we're going to wait. I still have my limit orders waiting lower down over here for Tesla at around 270, 274. So we'll wait patiently if it does drop. But I am having a little crack at this one on that 200-day MA. If there is a bit of momentum, we'll play it up to about 340. Let's see if it goes a little bit higher than that, but obviously not looking to shoot the lights out. Now, there is a little bit of other news at the moment, this Genius Act, and there was voting going down yesterday, and it didn't actually go through. And we saw a lot of bullishness in the market yesterday, and then this vote didn't actually pass. And then there was a big drop in the market, and then Uncle Donald came and started making tweets about how he was going to sort out this problem, okay? And where's that? Oh, this is the wrong one. But basically, James, what happened? He got the 11 members in his office. He
got 11 of the 12 that voted against it into his office. So the 12th person has been buried in the backyard, and 11 have agreed to do what he said.
I cannot imagine the types of threats that were made. But anyway, they all walked out of his office very agreeable and very, very, very good. Okay, so he's going to get his vote passed. And I think it's happening today. Again, they're having another crack.
In minutes. 30 minutes.
Okay, 30 minutes from now. So maybe
it's been published already. This thing it's been passed. It's going to pass. No
okay,
issues.
well, there you go, guys. That's what's going to go down. Let's see how the market responds. But I can tell you what, there's a couple of bullish markers out there for us at the moment. So just touching on BTC on the daily, this is a big one. This is what I was talking about yesterday in terms of what would be best case scenario for the altcoins. And that is some kind of BTC flag. If BTC just chops around here, that's essentially going to drop dominance, and that could ignite some of these altcoins. And we've started seeing little signs here from some of the big boys at the moment. And we've seen ETH BTC break the 200-day MA. We're seeing Sol versus USD breaking the 200-day MA. So things are definitely looking a little bit better in that side or on that front for some of these altcoins. So in terms of BTC, okay, you've got the levels there. Those are the chop zones. Let's look at the lickies. And upside here, we got 120. That's a nice little easy zone for us on BTC. So if it does happen to push a little bit higher, maybe another wick fill in the zone, yeah, around about 120, that takes us to the 618, and that could be an interesting add-on zone. So I have banged out a hedge short here at this region, actually a little bit lower. My entry's probably underwater, and if we do push a little bit higher, 120, probably another zone where we can add a little bit there in case they want to come and send us to hell. So one of the things I like to do, and if you guys follow me, obviously the hackers guys know that I do this all the time. If you follow the show, obviously we get these moves in the market, these alts push into major resistance zones, and to cure some of the FOMO and maybe to help your account if there is a sell-off, what I like to do is bang out some hedge shorts at some nice resistance zones. So right now I'm overly weighted long, and I think I need to start readjusting a couple of things here. But these typical resistance zones, these are where you take profit. These are where you bang out hedge shorts, and you just be a little bit cautious when you push into these zones, because if you guys have been around long enough, you know that when the market turns bullish, it also gets super choppy, and there can be a lot of pain along the way. So always just protect yourself. And now we are talking, we're going to talk these altcoins, but isn't this 100% true? Losing $100 bill and losing $1,000 on meme coins, it is what it is. And it always feels that way, doesn't it? But we are back to this phase in the market where we need to pull out the funding rate heat map. Now, we've used this really nicely in the past when the market is feeling super overcooked and super hot. And what you generally want to do is stay away from the tokens that are super glow in the dark. Okay, so when they're turning orange and light green or dark green and things like that, that means they're getting a little bit overcooked and maybe we need to be a little bit careful. So we're going to check in on this one from time to time. This gives us an overall picture in the market on the funding rates and things like that. So when it does get a bit hot, that is often a sign that we might get a cool off. Now, touching on some of these altcoins, what we need to focus on obviously is Bitcoin dominance, USDT dominance, but something else you can watch, which is a nice market indicator for us, is SOL versus BTC as the one of the first ones. There's your nice possible double bottom. Now we're showing tons of bullish divergence on the weekly, so there are signs at the moment that we might get a little bit of strength out of SOL relative to BTC. So if that starts playing out, things could get really fun for Solana, and I'm talking the SOL ecosystem, things like Dupe, but most importantly, like it or not, things like Popcat, things like Ponky, things like Bonk, Whiff, they're all going to start making massive comebacks, and you kind of want to be positioned with some of these. Okay, so if the swing is going to happen and there's going to be a big move, you got to start positioning yourself early, because when the rest of retail comes back, when SOL's at 250, when SOL's at 270, well, these meme coins are going to absolutely fly. And you got to make sure now, early doors, that anyone that's been doing the work over the last few weeks, you're going to benefit from these rewards later on. Okay, another marker for us is ETH versus BTC, and I'm tracking this one on the weekly. You can see nice and bullish still here. This thing is cooking at the moment, and what's happened here is we've blown the 200-day MA, so that's a major marker there for us, and it looks like we've got a little bit of legs here for ETH versus BTC until our next big resistance zone, which is sitting at this 29 level, and then we've got our bearish trend retest at 34. So I mean, I'm sure you can imagine the size of the move we can get out of the alt market if ETH BTC pumps another 25%. So that is now on the table for us. It's obviously very exciting and things like that, but this doesn't discount the fact that in this period, we could easily get 15-20% flush outs on these altcoins, and we need to be objective here, and we need to look at certain levels, and we need to be level-headed and say to ourselves, these are possible TP zones, these are possible short zones, and we got to play this way responsibly here, because I can tell you what, in a bull market and a big bullish push like this, it's just as easy to get chopped up and lose your money. So really avoid the FOMO at all costs. Now, here is Bitcoin dominance moving into our first danger zone. Okay, now how typical is this, that when you get a level on one of these charts, some news comes out, and then you get a bounce, or you get gold pushing into resistance, or all these types of things, and it's no different here. We've got our first danger zone on the altcoin, 63.5%. You can see this thing is fighting at the moment while these alts decide who's in charge. So right now, remember, what we want to see is red dominance. That obviously sets the altcoins up. And when dominance starts turning green, well, that's when the altcoin starts shitting the bed, and all the late leverage longers start getting chopped up. Okay, so gold longs just got wrecked. Did gold just fall over? Let's take a look here. There you go. Okay, what did we say? What did we say? Major rejection zone. Okay, so we just watch these areas and we play the game. Okay, that's remember, it's a game we're playing here, and we just got to try and stay ahead of the game. Okay, so bounce zone, you've got it, guys, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is a second dip here in the zone. Get you all euphoric. One more pump on these alts, maybe push ETH another couple of $100, and then maybe another push to the upside. So just look out for all these things, but you can see the general area. We are in a danger zone now on dominance, and then we play it level by level. If we start losing the zone, we're going to have a shit ton of fun all the way back down there. That's going to pump these alts another 10-15%. Then we might bounce again, and then we're tracking the 200-day MA. There's another big move coming on these altcoins, and we're just going to play it just step by step here. We're going to watch these resistance zones and hopefully bank as much profits as possible along the way. Okay, and try and avoid these lickies along the way. And we lost the POC on BTCD. Yeah, well, look, I don't track the POC on the Bitcoin dominance, but I just follow these big levels, and you can see this thing is trying to grind lower, and you just want to watch those big levels there. Okay, now USDT dominance, nice and red as well, and this might be our second visit into this 4.25. Remember, USDT dominance is basically the entire market, so the market moving money out of USDT into the markets, or out of the crypto market back into USDT. So when we see it nice and red, that means money is flowing into all of the tokens and BTC and obviously everything else. When it's pumping back up, well, that is where the pressure comes, and these are your possible bearish retest zones. And if there is a bearish retest, that is what can give you these quite long or quite big swing entries on some of these altcoins. So there is still that possibility there. Bang, that's going to hurt. And this is really going to hurt. Okay, if we get that push up to that side. So make sure that you are tracking this one as well. AZ says, Sol about to rocket. Guys, am I missing something here? Is this market woken up again? Let's take a look at our 4-hour RSI. Use this as a guide as well. Remember, there's a lot of tools that I use when I'm tracking the market, trying to figure out what the next play is. And what I'm giving you is obviously quite a helpful toolkit that you can use. I wouldn't just specifically look at one chart. I would look at a whole bunch of charts like the Bitcoin chart, dominance, Sol BTC, and 𝗵𝗶𝗍, this heat map, and all these things. And they help you make lots of decisions along the way, and hopefully more responsible decisions. Now, you can see the 4-hour heat map is pushing into the overbought zone on only a few alts at the moment, ETH and Bonk in the big zone. But when you get to the first overbought band, you can sometimes pump a little bit more before you start getting like super sketchy. Okay, so let this thing rise a little bit higher. You can see Bitcoin dominance is moving back into the oversold region. So we're going to see how deep this goes. But again, warning bells, if Bitcoin dominance starts dropping down to this 20 region, maybe a little bit lower, guys, that is where we really need to start taking our feet off the gas on these things and let the market play out a little bit. Okay, so let me know in the chats, am I making sense? Let me know if you get it and you get what I'm trying to tell you guys. I'm not trying to be super bearish. I'm trying to just be as objective as possible. And as exciting as the market is, guys, I just want you to be safe. And I don't want you to go through a terrible experience of watching the markets pump and you keep getting chopped up. That is not a fun way to spend a bull market. And Imam says, when short bonk, there is a 618 a little bit higher up, Iman. And I think the next pump, I think it's 10 or 15%. I think that is going to be the big rejection zone on bonk that we're going to deal with. Now, let's get into my favorite shitcoin, James's favorite shitcoin as well. And here it is. Okay, ETH breaking a massive zone here on the 3-day. Now, this is our macro 618 pool. You can see what's happened here. And we have now blown through this region. Now, this is obviously a very important step for us, but it doesn't discount a quick flush out in the market. But what happens when we see these types of moves is it tells us that we can use this area with relative confidence if it does drop back down. We're going to be looking for bullish buys in that zone, because if this breakout is real, the bulls will step in somewhere around this 2,900 region on any dip. So right now what happens is you get these breakouts and then typically you'll get some kind of bullish retest at some point. And all we want to do is really hold this previous range low. You can see these levels here at 3,000, 2,900, those types of levels. All we want to do is just retest that zone when it happens, and hopefully the bulls step in and then they start sending us to higher levels. So I don't know when that rejection happens. In fact, there was a very big possibility it was going to happen today after that news drop, but I see the market has just picked up and carried on a little bit. But in terms of ETH targets, guys, 3,500 and 4K, they seem to be locked in now. But the question is, how do we get there? And I just want to show you the last time there was a monster bullish move on ETH. Just look what happened here. Pushed up, chopped around, massive dump here. Wiped everyone out. Okay, so don't discount the fact that ETH can come and dump you in the space of a couple of days, 27%. Okay, now imagine what can happen to the altcoins, and then the market can remain bullish. Look at this beautiful uptrend over here, and nothing has actually changed. So remember that when you are trading super high leverage, and just keep it balanced. Now, how do you trade these monster breakouts? How do you get into the next zone? So my main focus always is the reversals, and I like these rejections and I like these bounce plays for us. But sometimes we have to play these breakouts, or we have to, we have to adjust how we get by when we start playing these areas. So as you can see, ETH has now broken this major resistance zone, and we're looking to target 3,500. So I bring you back to my same chart from yesterday. We've just had to adjust it now after that pump. And what you're going to do is you're just going to raise your fibs to the upside here, and you're just going to lift these levels. You want to start paying attention to your major support zones. Now, we know that your previous higher time frame resistance is floating around this region. So that tells us if ETH does manage to drop, there is a possibility that it can ping here and then start moving down into that region before a big size bounce, and it will remain super bullish. And that is equivalent of that little retest that I'm showing you over here. on the right-hand side of this chart. So that little retest there. So if you're looking to play this as safely as possible and you're hunting for some entries and you're hunting for some bullish entries, well, you can see immediately that if you're buying ETH right now where it is, you stand the chance of a pullback risk of approximately 6% on ETH. Okay, so just remember that is the first big zone there of interest for us. And remember, when the market turns bearish, sometimes they might even drop it a little bit lower. But essentially, these are the zones that I'm watching. So if you want to play safe and you want to build something that might be sustainable, you want to look at possible bounces, 3,120. You want to look at bounces 3,040. And then if we need to, on the relative day when the market's shitting the bed, we'll cover the plan at 2,900. But these are essentially your main ETH levels that you want to be paying attention to now. And if you're jumping in now, just understand these are your risk zones. We can easily track back there. And there's also nothing stopping ETH from here to just climbing up to that 3,490 zone before it rejects. Okay, so just remember your risks on both sides. And in terms of how I'm playing this, I've actually set a hard stop on ETH. So if it does pump, I'm trying to front run that 3,500 level. I've got a TP at 3,490, and I've got a couple of stops for this breakout move at the moment, but we might have to adjust them now that we've had a breakout. I need to adjust these stops to under those key levels because we don't want to get stopped out on bounce support. So we need to reassess. So anybody that's preset stop losses and things like that, you got to now redo your charts and you got to look at these bounce zones, and you really don't want to stop above a bounce zone. You don't want to stop there in those areas because it can easily just do that and then pump you back up. Okay, so Mr. MG, you haven't really missed much. We're just talking about a couple of things here on ETH, and I've got so many alts for you guys at the moment. Okay, a couple of things going on here for me, and I've got the ETH position. Obviously, that is now absolutely cooking. Sol, I'm really starting to press that one now. That is flying. Peppy's looking good. Hype's looking good. Sui, it's a head short in play because Sui's turned flat while the rest of the market is looking good. Virtual is still a bit suspicious for me. I'm not enjoying the fact that Virtual hasn't woken up yet. Render, I've got quite a big short. I've added to that one now a little bit as a hedge play. Cardano, I'm trying to long the top as hard as possible. Might get liquied. We're going to talk about this one in a moment. And XTZ, that's a head short. Brett, what an absolute banger. That thing is flying at the moment. And Myro is something I'm also building as well. And that's going to be a similar play to Ponky that we looked at yesterday that took off nice and aggressively. Okay, so this is the current spread at the moment, subject to change. If the market gets wild and whatever, we're going to clip some profits of these. If it starts dumping, well, I'm going to reduce some of the sizing here because at all times we want to just manage ourselves. So you really got to manage your stuff along the way because you can get hurt if this market drops super quickly. Okay, and Emmanuel says CRV bearish divergence. So guys, let me just tell you the picture. And this is what I told hackers earlier today. Lower time frame on these altcoins. I'm talking 1 hour. I'm talking 2 hour, even maybe 3 hour charts. They're looking quite bearish at resistance. But then you look at something like the 8 hour chart, and some of them want to push up one more time and print that 8 hour bearish divergence. So that tells me that there's possibly one more push brewing in the market before a really big sell-off. And if we use some of our guidelines like this, for example, you can see if there is one more big squeeze or one more push in the market, these are going to push to the upside. Dominance is going to drop harder, and that's going to fall into my point I'm making about 8 hour bearish divergence printing on some of these alts. Okay, so that is kind of something I'm watching for at the moment. We're going to see how that goes. Fuck me, how's this Sol? What a cooker. Okay, now guys, this is an absolute banger. So this is what I was talking about earlier today in Chart Hackers. I basically told the guys it's time to get long. Okay, if we're breaking this 200-day MA, we need to start focusing on a couple of things because we know that when these tokens break the 200-day moving average, they tend to get quite aggressive, and that is why I've got a couple more tokens that are pushing into the 200-day MA that I'm going to show you guys today. But right now, guys, focus and just remember, danger zone. It's called a danger zone for a reason. Okay, this is where you get rinsed. So look out. If Sol pushes into this 173, 174, that is going to be a major rejection zone for you guys. The next one is 186. And if you're feeling sort of uncomfortable in how long you are and Sol starts hitting 172, 173, that could be a good TP zone if it does carry on pushing into that region. Okay, so that's a macro 786, and it is taking into account a bit of an undercarriage. Mind you, there are a few wicks here that we might have to deal with to the upside, but if this move continues, that's a big one for me there. 174. The next one is 184. You're going to be watching. Okay, SOL, last call before departure. Look, anybody long SOL, what you can use at the moment is that 200-day moving average. That is going to be your first degen support level. But I remind you again, our super bullish 236 fib is still sitting at 159. Okay, so that is still there, and we can't ignore 159 on SOL, but it really is nice to see that SOL is breaking that 200-day moving average finally. So well done to everybody that had the conviction to long the top of SOL. Okay, so there we go, and off she goes. Now, is Cardano going to do the same thing for us? So we're going to talk about that now. Let's quickly break down the SOL chart for anybody looking for some kind of degen entry. Here we go. And this is how I've kind of teed this up for the hackers now today. And a lot of these altcoins, they all look the same. Okay, these alts are sitting in these very tight ranges and they are threatening to break. Okay, what we do need to be aware of, there's that bearish reversal that we're getting on much lower time frames, but then we're seeing on some of the others on the higher time frames that we might get a second push here. So how do we play this breakout safely? How do we do this? If we are going to catch this move for SOL into 174 and we want to catch it into 184, how do we do it safely? Okay, so what I typically do, my typical breakout strategy is to start nibbling when the token starts breaking through the upside. Nibble, nibble. Okay, so nibble means not lots. Okay, nibble doesn't mean ape your full clip. Okay, so you nibble a little bit when it starts breaking. Now, typically after it breaks a horizontal like this, you get some kind of push up and then you get some bearish moment. Okay, and then things start dropping down. And what you want to do is you want to see that your 382 fib holds. So from wherever this 382, from wherever the price rejects, okay, you're going to drag this up as long as wherever that price rejects. So right now, if the price rejects here, you want to watch that 382 as your bullish buy zone. Now, often that's going to tie in with other confluence. For example, horizontal 165, 200-day MA 164, VWAP from the lows, okay, beautiful, 164. So we know this is a high probability bull zone. If the move is true, the bulls are going to step in, hopefully by the 382 reversal. So they typically send it back into the range and then they send it back to the upside. So if the move is real, that is your level 165, guys, at the moment down to say 161. So watch that one very carefully. and if someone say full clip, yeah, guys, don't go full clip at the top. This is where you get rinsed. Okay, this is where you take lickies. We don't want to do lickies. Okay, my job here is to help you guys manage this responsibly. Okay, like I've seen this movie. We've been in multiple pumps in these markets. We know exactly the games these guys are playing, and I want to guide you guys as safely and as reasonably as possible so that you can come out of here super profitable. Okay, you're never going to hear me shouting to the moon only. I'm always going to tell you where you can get ripped up, where you can get chopped up, and where you can get hurt, and I'm going to give you those bear zones and just play the game. Okay, play the game with me and let's do it safely. All right, so that is your big support now for SOL. So if the bulls are going to step in, guys, remember you want that VWAP. That VWAP often tells us if the trend is going to be holding, and you typically will get bounces as long as there is a VWAP holding there on the lows. Okay, so there is your SOL breakout game plan. Remember, just drag your fibs to the upside and just keep playing that. And then obviously interim degen support at the moment is 168 that you guys can use on SOL. Okay, let's talk about my favorite frog. Okay, no crying in the casino, Z. 100% no crying in the casino. Okay, here's the deal. Okay, ETH is nice and bullish. What do we like to play? I like to play Peppy when ETH is nice and bullish. I also like to get stuck into Brett, funnily enough, and that seems to also do a couple of things. But Peppy is normally a nice ETH meme play, obviously. And in terms of what's happening with Peppy at the moment, same story as a lot of altcoins. We're sitting at major resistance. Okay, so this is actually a typical bear zone. Now, we're looking at this thing on the daily. We can see it's bent over once already. And this tells us the daily could just push up again and print bearish divergence and give us one more pop in the market. So if there is one more pop in the market and we're going to get some kind of bearish divergence on the daily, you're typically going to see Peppy push into the next big zone. It might be that one. one. Obviously, it might be even higher. But in terms of what we're doing, 𝗵𝗆's at actually a major rejection zone. Okay, so this is resistance. If the market falls over, this is a typical short zone for the bears. Okay, so that is obviously the first thing I want to just explain to you guys. We're at major resistance. If there is going to be another move, how do you play this safely, okay, without absolutely longing the top? How do you manage your risk to get it? So if 𝗵𝗆 is going to break through, your next target is 146, okay, very simply, another 10-11% move. If 𝗵𝗆 is going to reject, well, your next buy zone for 𝗵𝗆 is actually going to be down here, now about a 13% drop, and the rest of the market will shit the bed. So 17% drop to the downside. So big buy zones on a rejection, 1144. 108. Those are unchanged. Those are my still my big support levels there for 𝗵𝗆. If we start breaking through, how do we do it? Okay, so this is what I've given to the hackers today, and it's basically your blueprint on how to play these breakouts, or how I play these breakouts to try and minimize my risk as much as possible. Now, there's a million ways to play a breakout. I can only just share with you how I like to do it, and this is just from experience over the years of getting rinsed in breakouts, okay? And I've obviously figured out the safest way that I like to play it. So here is 𝗵𝗆. And 45 minutes, you can see I'm tracking the 45-minute chart. What information do we have? We can see immediately lower time frame, okay, bearish. This tells us you're a little bit mad longing the top, okay? But if you are a little bit mad, it means you're a little bit of a degen, and there might be momentum still in the market. But in terms of lower time frame, that is actually bearish. And this could tell us short term, and it could be a few percent, but short term on a 45 minutes, this thing could want to come down and reset and then get some kind of push to the upside. Now, we don't know where the next pop is going to take us, but typically what we want to see is the exact same play that I've shown you on Sol and ETH, okay? So when we break through, we're looking for that squeeze through the zone. We nibble when it starts breaking through that horizontal, and then you're typically going to get a pop to the upside, and then you're going to get some kind of bearish play in the market where they flush out all the late longs. Now, what your advantage is, or what you're going to be looking for, is looking to buy on that dip back into the 382 or the 0.5. So remember, when they break through a range like that, a range high like that, they quite often send it back in, okay? And then the bulls need to step in that zone. If the bulls don't step in around about that 382 or that 0.5, then the move is generally a fake out, and then they're going to start bringing you back to these lower levels, and then we start hunting way down here for 𝗵𝗆. So this is the risk, obviously, of playing these breakouts. So right now, the support I can give you on 𝗵𝗆, if this thing is going to run, 127 and 126 is what you're going to be using. Use your fibs and your VWAP as your support guide. Look at that. So we've got a nice horizontal here as well. Bang, over there. And we can see that's pretty much our final bull zone here. If we start losing these levels, then they're going to send us back to hell, okay, down here. So if you're going to play this 𝗵𝗆, those are your support levels for the bulls. They're super degen levels. And remember, what is your risk? If you're jumping in full clip here, what is your risk? 5%, guys. 5% on 20x sounds like lickies, okay? Sounds like big lickies there to me. So remember, nibble. The real trade is when they pull it back. The real trade is that retest, okay? That's the big one for us that we're looking for if it's true. And then we're going to look for those levels at 15. Okay, so there's 𝗵𝗆, guys. I'll drop this in Chart Hackers for you. That's your breakout strategy play. Now, another one, absolute shitcoin. And I even texted the Cardano girls, okay? And I said to them, I'm longing the top of Cardano, and if it works, they're coming on back onto the show, okay? So she's going to come and hang out with us sometime this week or next week if we get a breakout. And I said, if Cardano rinses me, pretend it never happens and pretend I never called you, okay? And she said, no problem. So we'll wait for the next pump then as that plays out. So here's an example of what I was trying to explain to you guys about the potential push up in the market. What I've said here is there's a potential push up on the oscillator that's going to print bearish divergence. Okay, that is what we're looking for. So typically what we want to see here is the second push. Okay, Chaos calls it a shit the ceiling. That prints bearish divergence, and then you get some kind of move to the downside. Now, if there is going to be an STC on Cardano, there's a potential upside target here for you guys on this breakout of the simple triangle here of roughly 83 that you're going to be looking at. So it could be something like this, pop, reject, most likely at that undercarriage, and then we're looking at this kind of move into this 83, 84 zone on Cardano. And for me, that is a major exit zone. Okay, that will print bearish divergence, and you guys need to be super careful up there. 83, 84, that's a typical short zone. I'm pretty confident I'll be banging out another short in that region if and when it goes up to that zone. Okay, so there's your bigger picture view on Cardano. So potentially that 200-day MA getting broken. Remember what happens when the 200-day MA gets broken? You get fireworks. Okay, those are the fireworks we want. Okay, so that is what we're looking for. So there's your Cardano. We'll drop that in chart hackers for you, and here is how you can play the breakout. Again, here's a little degen setup for you guys. So just to show you, here's that major triangle I'm talking about. If that triangle breaks to the upside, you've potentially got a big push. Again, I remind you, these lower time frames, they're looking a little bit wonky for me at the moment, so we just need to be aware of what is going on lower time frames. So look out for the lickies there, the guys that are too heavily leveraged. What you're going to do now, okay, you can see it's trying to break, but what you can do is you can drag your fibs up to the highs. You want to just highlight your horizontal support and your first degen support level. If this move is going to work, your first degen support, 74. Okay, so that's a potential support zone you can use for a possible pop on Cardano. That risk is pretty tiny if you get that dip into that zone. So it's about a 1%er if you can get a dip into this pullback. So somewhere in there, and you've got a bit of a VWAP there holding you, and then your backup zone is going to be 73 that you're going to be watching, and that will tie in pretty nicely with the rising trend. Okay, so now we've got 618, we've got horizontal, and we've got a rising trend backup zone here for you guys. Okay, so look out for that. If this triangle is going to play out, you typically want to see this region hold. So look out for a bear trap down here, and then a possible push back to the upside. We saw it on Render earlier this week. They dropped it below the triangle and grabbed some stops, and then they sent it straight back up. So just look out for the traps in those zones. And Juliet says SPX is pulling back. We're going to tackle SPX in a second. Guys, I actually can't believe I'm longing the top of Cardano. I mean, I've hit a new level of filth. Okay, but let's see if this plays out. You've got your degen levels. You can see my thought process behind this. Remember, we are still at a danger resistance zone, and for this exact reason, we are sitting in a head short still. Okay, so no reason for me to close this one. And SPX is good still. Jeez, I thought they were saying it was pulling back. Okay, so I'm still sitting in this ADA short. I've added a little bit to this one at the moment. I've got a Popcat head short getting absolutely rinsed here at the moment. Sol long, as you can see here, and I've got SPX. Okay, SPX absolutely flying. This was one that I've been talking about the whole week. I've been telling you guys why I wanted a taste of this SPX, and now it is starting to deliver to us. Okay, it's starting to deliver the prize. We're $3,800 up here on that SPX. A little bit of patience was needed, and now it's finally paying off for us. So now UniPic says, UniPCS says, meme coins are starting to break out with strength across the board. SPX, thank you so much. Pengu, yeah, thank you so much. Bonk, fuck me, I missed that one. And something called Useless. Now, I haven't focused on this Useless. We need to get into it because it is part of this Bonk ecosystem. So my commitment to you is tomorrow, you will have a full setup from me on Useless, including a degen entry play, including short zones, and all these types of things. Okay, so James, please remember that. Please don't let me go live without a Useless chart for everybody. And I will cover that for you guys. So make sure you are tuned in. Now, talk about memes. What's a banger? Let's talk. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My friend Brett is finally delivering. Again, 200-day MA. What did I tell you guys about the 200-day moving average? What happens when we break the 200-day moving average? I believe.
Juicy, extremely juicy.
Okay, I believe that is what happens when you break the 200-day moving average. Now, warning bells for Brett. Let's look at this thing objectively. Let's not get too much FOMO. What is going on? So number one, Brett is sitting at undercarriage. It's sitting at 0.5. So this is a major resistance zone again. And remember, if we play level by level, all we want to do is look for entries for these breakouts into these next zones. Now, if Brett does rip a little bit harder today, we are starting to look at a move of approximately another 13%, and we go step by step. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's a 38% coming on Brett, but let's go baby steps here. Let's say 13%. So if Brett doesn't fall over and reject at this major resistance zone, there's a possibility there's another few percent. And wouldn't that be beautiful? That will give us 8-hour bearish divergence over here, bang, and then a possible TP higher up and a possible rejection at one of those levels. Guys, are you picking up what I'm putting down? Are you seeing what I'm saying here? Are you understanding my thought process level by level? Let's not just go, to the moon forever, because we got to be smart about this thing, okay? And so, Brett, guys, that is the current situation. Upside target is 69. How do we do this? Okay, here's your DGen play at the moment, and you can see we printed bearish divergence, but now we're breaking through this on the 1 hour. Okay, so something that we're going to be watching, and this can obviously still print a second time if this thing starts reversing over here. So we're just looking out for that, obviously, on the lower time frame oscillator. But in terms of how do we play, Brett, for the next move, we've broken the 200-day moving average. Thank you very much. Now, how do we do this safely if there is going to be a continuation of the move? How do we use, what levels do we use? How do we play it? Okay, so guys, I want to highlight number one, your first line of super strong support now that we've broken is 0.0577, 0.0577, 200-day MA, 382 bullish pullback, horizontals. Okay, so we've broken our trend, we've broken our horizontal, look at that. And now if there is going to be a rejection, 6265, okay, this is our major zone here, 6265, danger. Okay, if we're going to reject, it's probably going to be there. And then we want the bulls to step in on our next dip back into that zone. Okay, so that is the safest way you can play it. I've obviously been working this, Brett, the whole day. I've been laddering into this, growing a size on this thing. But that is going to be now, if you've missed this move, there's a strong possibility of a retest and a kiss of that 200-day MA. And you need to be ready to react if it is going to come back down into that zone. So in terms of jumping into Brett now, if you're jumping in now, step one, major resistance. Step two, what is your risk? 7%. Okay, you got a 7% risk down to support. So if you're jumping in on 20x leverage, that's Licky's time coming. Okay, you're going to be very close to Licky's over there if it does drop into that level. So manage your leverage, manage your position size. Remember, you can always start really small when the market's choppy like this or doing these types of things. Start with low margin. Then if there is a pullback, you can use that opportunity to add and grow the size. And you typically want to play that same bullish vibe. You want to see the VWAP pushing higher. And as long as we're holding horizontals and VWAP, then we should be okay to continue the move to the upside. Okay, so long the top seems to be the theme at the moment. And guys, sometimes you just got to long the top. You saw me a couple of weeks back with ETH and SOL, and I said to you guys, if ETH breaks that 200, every time it breaks it, I'm longing the top until it goes. And here you go. Okay, here's your proof in the pudding. Okay, you can see what these things do when they break the 200-day MA. So remember that for next time, because there's always going to be a next time when we're under the 200-day MA. Remember that. Okay, it might be in a few months, but we're going to get this opportunity again. Yes, sir.
So now Trump says he's not doing anything, that he doesn't need to, because Powell's already under investigation for lying under oath, that he doesn't need to do anything. And the market's ripping. So stupid. Take a look at the Sol memes. Everything's ripping now because Sol's moving.
Well, that means I'm getting rinsed on poppies.
Oh, yeah, you shouldn't be shorting poppies. No. Sol's ripping and all the memes are waking up.
This BX is a cooker. Okay. Okay. Let's go. Okay, so guys, Brett, you've got your levels on Brett. You've got your targets, okay? Like, that's the best thing I can do right now. I can't give you an entry right now here without telling you guys how much risk there is. Okay, so if you're taking it, understand where your risk zones are, understand your levels, and you can see possible rejection here at this major level. Now, SPX, let's touch on this one quickly. So let me just show you the context again, guys. Why was I so interested in SPX? Look at this weekly, okay, all-time highs, major weekly cup and handle here. Look at this. Now, we've got a proper breakout here on SPX. This is obviously super exciting, and this is what we've been planning for the last 7 days. I mean, this is what we've been looking for. So now SPX has broken those highs, and how do we manage ourselves now? How do we do this? So now that we know we've broken a major weekly all-time high and weekly level, we can use this as our first big zone of support. So all you're going to do is you're going to drag your fibs back to the upside, and you're going to look for your big zones, and you can use immediately 173. You're going to use that one. That ties in relatively well with those highs. And then I've got an absolute banger here, 167. That's VWAP 0.5 and some nice confluence on horizontals as well. Okay, so the most degen levels I can give you right now for SPX is 1.8, and then the zone between 173 and 167. Okay, those are your safest zones, and that would be a typical retest of major horizontal support. It's going to be a retest of your breakout levels that you're going to be watching there as well. So if it does start falling over, okay, something could play out like this, and then maybe another big move on SPX. Okay, so you've got these levels now locked in. I'm glad you guys have watched the process that I followed with SPX over the last few days, and just trying to build these entries. I've been telling you guys, I'm looking for these zones. I want to get the breakout because of what it is giving us now. So just remember these little nuggets along the way, because if this market turns bullish, there's going to be multiple opportunities like this where we're going to get alts at next levels, and we're going to be able to play those breakouts responsibly and strategically. And I'm here to help you guys do that. And this is obviously what Chart Hackers is for as well. I've got a team of elite traders in there, and they are here to look after you guys. They're dropping trade setups and education all day long to help you guys navigate what is actually quite a difficult market when it's pumping like this. Okay. Popcat is flying. Popcat is licking me. Okay. So there's SPX, guys. There are those current, that's the current situation. Ponky. Now, I closed this one too early. I'm quite upset about this. Panda dropped a Ponky trade in Chart Hackers yesterday, and it was an absolute guard mode setup. I mean, look at this thing. 50-day MA, VWAP, all these things bang into the zone. And what happens to Ponky? It breaks the 200-day moving average, and then absolute fireworks after that. Okay, so anyone trading Ponky, I'm out of this thing. I did like 300% on that 𝗬𝗍𝗄 competition trading account, and I thought, fuck, well, that's a nice target. I'll take that. And now I can see this thing is hungry. It's trying to go a little bit more. So I'm going to leave this one for now. But in terms of major support, Ponky traders, nothing to worry about until this thing closes below 147. So this thing is looking hot now. And if you close obviously below here, then we're looking in dark places. But right now, if it does roll over, that's your zone, 149, 148, big area there for Ponky. So well done to anybody who's still holding this thing and managed to enjoy those profits. My God, that was a mover. And you can see you got a little bit of trend confluence there as well on Ponky. Okay, so in terms of upside targets, let's just give you a couple of zones of interest here for Ponky. And you simply just want to pull out your macro fibs. You want to take the highs to the lows, and you want to bang out your 618, your 786. And these are generally good guides for you. Okay, so Ponky traders, 177, and call it front run that zone, 0.2. So you want to go like 0.195 or something. Yumi, congrats on that fart. I got to check on, we got to check in on my fart here. Oh, there she goes. There she goes. Okay, well, let's add. Come, let's add. Let's add for fun. Okay, there we go. Let's see if we can send this one higher here. Okay, there we go. So I added a little bit. You can see my average entry now. It's still under that candle. And what you can do if you add to your trade, you keep your average entry under a nice level, and then you're pretty much risk-free. Okay, so there we go. Fartcoin is now cooking. 21,000 long here. Fetch got something going. Render got something going. DRT and the syrup I'm going to talk to you guys about now today. There's syrup at the moment. It's cooking. It's been a slow burner and picking up a couple of orders to the downside while it's been so weak. So we're going to cover that one now in a sec for you guys. Okay, another one I've got for you guys, I'm watching very closely. I've been building a position on this one today as well, is Myro, another dog on the Sol ecosystem. We saw Ponky explode. We saw Bonk. We saw Whiff. We saw Popcat. Maybe it's Myro time. Now, Myro is a smaller cap, but this thing can obviously churn as well. And my target for Myro is 26. And you can see it's just broken out of our range. And look at that. This was the plan I gave the hackers today. Unreal. Okay, unreal. This is exactly the plan that I'm telling you guys about on these other tokens on what to look for. Look at this thing. We said to them, nibble on the break. Okay, then you look for the VWAP and 382. Look at that, straight into the VWAP and 382, bang, and then off she goes. Okay, so a little lesson here for you guys. Keep it super simple. 382, 0.5 fib, VWAP, look for that move back into the range, and then bang, to the upside. Okay, especially when the market is bullish, these VWAPs are super, super responsive. Okay, so Myro, off she goes. The target is 26 is what we're looking at, and it's probably a massive danger zone, guys. So just be careful. Let's just see the size of the move here. If we do push higher, that thing is 7%. Okay, now let's look at some bigger, higher time frame targets for 𝗲. If this thing is going to cook, well, now you can see why I'm interested in this. Look at this inverse head and shoulders. Look at this thing. Bang, bang, bang. Okay, look at that. Bang. This thing could potentially want to do a couple of things. So that is obviously why I've been getting a little bit stuck in to this 𝗲. So in terms of potential blowout targets, where can this thing go? 0.031 and 0.036. But your first stop, guys, and I warn you, okay, first stop, 200-day moving average. There's probably going to be a fresh 𝗲 trade when we break through the 200-day MA. So look out for that if we do push into that zone. And typically what could happen here, if it pops into that 200-day MA, you're going to get some kind of consolidation under that region, and you're probably going to get your hard first rejection. So if it pops there, look for a big rejection there. And then you're going to try and look for some kind of flag to start forming here for you guys. So some kind of flag action there, and then we're going to get another breakout trade to the upside on 𝗲. Okay, so play it safe. You've got your support. It's 23. Your next backup zone is 225. If it starts losing that, guys, it means you're losing the trend. Okay, and don't get married to these things. If we're playing breakouts and we start losing trends, it typically takes you back to the range low, and then you'll be watching me on my show tomorrow, and we'll be looking for longs, okay, down there. So just remember, if you're losing trends on these breakouts, don't get married to these things too hard. Watch your big levels, watch the VWAP from the local lows, watch your 382s, watch your horizontals, okay, and then play safe, okay, play it safe, okay. Popcat, oh, there she goes. Okay, so Popcat, exactly the same story, guys. Here's your breakout. What's happened here? Popcat's popped through the range, and what you need to see now is if this stays bullish, it needs to come back and it needs to hold this 382. So here's your 382 over there, and your first line of support on Popcat is 3970. So if there is a hard rejection now in the market, bang, your first line of support, 3970, and then I would say as an extreme, 388. You're going to watch that area as for a possible pullback, and then potentially more upside. Now you can see why I've jumped into a hedge Popcat short, because just like all these alts, it's sitting at major resistance, okay? And if the market shits the bed, what if the market rolls over now and you are net long at the top of everything? It's going to be a monster deep burn there to the downside. Okay, the NZ Danny, have I not given you enough entries here? Am I not? When entering you, don't hit me with a Uno reverse card. You guys aren't allowed to. I'm the only one who can say when entry. Okay, and AI Max says shorts, they don't exist now until they do. Okay, so just look out, because it happens slowly, 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 and then all of a sudden you're like, fuck, why didn't I short that at resistance? Okay, so just remember that. TP at big resistance zone. Don't ape the full clip on breakouts at major resistance zone. I'm giving you this whole menu of things. I'm giving you the full buffet, and you just guys really manage your risk here. These are your levels. Look, there's a little rejection here. Who knows? Something happens, a couple of 5-minute candles, and next thing, bang, there's a sell-off in the market, and then you're holding your underpants around your ankles. Okay, so be super careful here. Levels for Popcat, 41, 397, 388. I'll be dropping these charts in Chart Hackers there for you guys in a couple of minutes. And then obviously when you're adding to positions, guys, very important, when you're adding to positions, add little bits at a time, because you're trying not to get your average entry too high, especially if you got a good entry. So you can see why this fart coin looks nice, because we got a nice wick there to the upside. We've reclaimed that now. So for me, adding and having my stop just under that candle means I've got a full-on risk-free trade now. It's going to cost me zero, and it's a $20,000 position now. And there's a possibility, what if Altcoin pumps 10% now? Now we're printing. So that is a lot of the stuff I teach in my accelerator workshop number 2 that is coming on Tuesday. So guys, I do have an accelerator course where I teach you all of these reaction zones. I talk to you about the VWAPs. I talk to you about the oscillator, all the indicators as well. Very short and concise course for you. And I also cover advanced leverage trading in the course, and I cover advanced leverage trading in Chart Hackers as well. So if you want to come and join me on my school workshop, just sign up for the school. My workshop is next Tuesday, and I'll be presenting advanced leverage tips and tricks. And now is the perfect time for you guys to be learning that when the market is starting to pump. So all you need to do is go into the show description, click on more. You're going to find Chart Hackers in there. Very important. You're going to find the Accelerator School in there, and you're going to find all the exchanges that I like to trade on are sitting here under the show description. There's quite a few no KYC exchanges as well, and you probably don't even need VPNs on some of them too. Okay, so there's WeX, Blofin, no KYC as well for you guys. BTCC, obviously, that is where we're trading stocks and things like that. Okay, Popcat we've got, Fartcoin we've got, Maple Finance. Now this is the syrup. James, you've spoken about this one before. Fundamentally, where are we in your view on this thing?
Good shit. I mean, it really is. This is a pet project of Kerwin's from like a year ago. It's where I first heard about it, when it was Maple, and he was all over it saying how amazing it is. It's actually a good project with real fundamentals, not just some stupid meme coin or vaporware. It's actually being used for lending. So, yeah, this is a good one. So and relatively low cap.
Yeah, it's quite a small cap as well. So I think there are pumpamentals here. And Dave gave this as a swing setup in Chart Hackers. And we've obviously been trying to grow a position here on this thing. But if you look at all the other coins, it's a massive, massive underperformer at the moment. And for me, it just feels like it's a matter of time before they turn the engines on this thing again and we get some kind of pumpage. So we have had quite a few nice moves on this one previously. And the last one we got was a 65% pump, and I'd be very happy with a 65% pump off this Maple. So anyway,
look at the overall chart. That overall chart's amazing when you compare it to all these others that had this big up and then it gets hammered and then it comes back up a bit. You know what I mean? This thing has been relatively up only.
Yeah, so it is starting to show. Great. Yeah, I mean, so look, that's why we're in it. We're looking for a big move on this thing. The question is, when does it happen? Okay, so there's two levels for me. Okay, so it's either happening off this existing level here. This is kind of where we've been laddering in. So from this region, we've been laddering into this thing, and this guy 447, okay, is one of the levels here. There's a possibility that this thing just carries on this trend to the downside, and it drops into 39 before we get a substantial move. And I'm looking for like a 50-60% move here on leverage. Okay, so I'm playing it relatively safe. I'm not aping hard into this thing. I've got orders waiting lower down in case there is going to be a drop in this thing. And 39 is where I'm expecting it hopefully to be my final order that picks up. So right now you can see we're in a downtrend here. At some point we're going to dip, and we're looking to break out of that flag. And by then we're going to be adding even more to the position when there's momentum, and hopefully we'll have a nice big size by the time that happens. So 447 and 39.
What are you building here? 5x? 3x? What are you
building now this at? It is on 4x. Okay,
4x.
I'm running it on
very
4x.
Responsible. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, it's actually ridiculous. I mean, what the fuck? What is this X4X? Okay,
that's the way it's supposed to be done. It's just I'm surprised.
So you guys can see I've got some orders waiting lower down. If this thing's going to come and drop into these levels, we're going to catch it. Okay, that's obviously the current plan there on this Maple. So something to watch. It's not exciting at the moment, but fuck me, it's going to be at some point when it explodes. Okay, so just look out for that. And then Virtual. Oh, thank you so much, Virtual, for finally waking up. Let's see if we can play a little degen play here through the 50-day MA. So guys, I just want to show you what happens. The blue line is the 200-day MA. Look at that, tap, bang, and we've tapped into it again, and we've got a bounce now on Virtual. Okay, so that 200-day MA obviously doing its job now. You can see we broke through, explosive move, couple of retests, and now Virtual is moving to the 50-day MA. So let's just try and get an understanding here as to how big or how bad this current resistance is. Let's just see before we do something stupid. 1.76 is our 618 fib, and it's also our VWAP from the highs. It's also our 50-day MA. Okay, so right now there's no fresh trade on Virtual for me because we are on the lower time frame moving into a major resistance zone. So what I want to see now on Virtual is a clean break of this 50 and then possibly a rejection at 181, and we're going to use this region over here, the 50-day MA, this previous 618 as our first line of bullish support. Okay, so virtual traders, major resistance. Okay, big support here for you guys. 173 we're going to use when it comes back. Okay, so look out for that pop. I am in virtual, but it's been relatively slow and disappointing. It's trying to grind, but I haven't got substantial size yet. So for me, it's got to be the break and then the retest where I'm going to be adding a little bit more onto this virtual situation. Okay, I see Brett is really starting to cook now. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so that is, guys, that's a thorough plan for you. Okay, and anybody looking for Pengu, here's some Pengu action. So yesterday I gave you the blueprint on how to grab this thing. There it is. Okay, what did I say? I said real test is for the break is that it holds this retest. Look for dips in the back into the zone. Look at that VWAP 0.5 coming into play. Bang, you get your entry. Okay, so I know Mo in Chart Hackers was actually messaging saying thanks. He got the short on Pengu at the highs, and then he got the support buy over here. So Pengu, look, this system is obviously working for Pengu at the moment. It's not flying like the Sol memes because all the interest is in the Sol ecosystem at the moment. Pengu has been a big front runner, but in terms of a possible bounce now for you guys on Pengu, I think if you want to play it safe, you're going to look for a small position here, 3214. You're going to look at 3214, small position. Okay, see what happens in that zone. There's a VWAP over there as well. Let's look at our oscillator, getting close to a reversal on the 30. Okay, so you want to see that dip. You want to see that divergence or whatever on that oscillator. Look for that dip, 3214 down to 317. Okay, for Pengu traders. That is where it's at. Okay, and guys, I know there's a lot of new traders here now. There's a lot of new faces, so welcome to the show. If you're enjoying this TA, well, guys, you know about my accelerator course, but I want to talk to you about a community for you guys. Now, when I first started trading, it gets like it's an absolute minefield. You're watching so much content, you don't know what to do, you don't know who to follow, and things like that. And I created the Chart Hackers specifically for this. When I started trading, I wish I had a group or a community that I could find support at when I was winning and when I was losing. Okay, I needed help and I needed other traders to be with. So if you're a new trader and you're trying to navigate this bull market, I can tell you it's hell on your own. Okay, so find a community. It doesn't have to be mine, but what I'm saying is find yourself a community. And I've got Chart Hackers, guys, and we're catering for the swing traders. We got bots running. We're catering for the spot traders. We're catering for the breakout traders, the degens. Everything is here for you guys. The Chart Hackers guys in the chats will tell you what it's about. You know, I don't even have to speak any further. The community obviously speaks for itself. But guys, if you want a community, if you're fresh to trading, you want to navigate this, come to Chart Hackers. I'll look after you guys there. My team will look after you there. Okay, James. Thank you, Captain.
Good luck, everyone.
Good luck. That is the correct
phrase.
Let's
hope the pump continues. Sol at 172, I hear in the chat already.
Oh, my God. Let's do a quick check-in here. ETH. Oh, my
ETH
God.
looks pretty nice, too.
Oh, my God. Sol's at resistance, guys. Okay. Use that information.
Are we shorting?
I'm too scared to short right now.
Me too.
You know, all I can
I'm not
say
touching that shit.
All I can guys, all I can say is danger zones, big zones, TP, head shorts. Okay, you don't have to like close everything and only short. That's one way ticket to getting rinsed. But
at least TP
safe, TP some, head short. Okay, P&Ls are fun to show your wife, but giving her handbags are way better when you actually have the money. Okay, okay, James, thank you, sir. See you later. Guys, good luck. It's so nice that we got blood pumping in our veins again. The market is green. Let's not fuck this up, okay? We do this consistently. We're patient. We don't get too much FOMO. Follow the big zones. Follow the levels. Stick with me. I'll sort you guys out, okay? Good luck. See you guys later.